Good evening, everyone. The June 22nd, 2021 regular school board meeting of the Board of Directors of Roseville Area Schools ISD 623 is hereby called to order. Clerk Johnson, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Director Chu.
Here.
Director Anderson.
Here.
Treasurer Goggins.
Here.
Director Shaw.
Here.
Chair Bogoshevsky.
Here.
Clerk Johnson is here.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any adjustments to our agenda this evening?
It would help if I would unmute. Chair Bogoshevsky, there are no agenda adjustments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We do have at least a couple of announcements. So I think I'll turn it over to Melissa Sonic, future Assistant Superintendent, who has some news about Harambe and the leadership there.
I do. Thank you, Chair Bogoshevsky and school board members. After an extensive search, a lot of listening to stakeholders, and a pretty rigorous interview process, we are thrilled to announce that Nazreen Fine-Weaver will be the next principal of Harambe Elementary School, and Ryan Vernash will be the next principal of Brimhall Elementary School. And I'll introduce each of the newest members of the 623 family and then give them a few minutes to share just a little bit about themselves and their upcoming role. So I will start with Nazreen. Nazreen Fine-Weaver comes to us from Brooklyn Center, where she has served as the assistant principal of Brooklyn Center Elementary School. Prior to that, she served as the assistant principal of their secondary school. She has also served as a K-12 teacher, a teacher at the collegiate level, a dean, and an equity interventionist. She is also a writer, a published author, and speaker. Nazreen is exuberant about life. After her first interview, I told her she has this really unique blend of chill, love, spirituality, and scholarly leadership. During that interview, I also believe that I watched Nazreen fall in love with Harambe and Harambe fall in love with Nazreen. She is a dynamic, relational, equity in all we do leader. In her words, she is an educator by training and by passion. Please join me in welcoming Nazreen to the Roseville Area Schools and the Harambe School community.
Hey.
Thank you so much, Melissa and school board. This moment right here where I get to look across the screen at faces and stories and sentiments as I took in the school board meetings prior to one of my interviews. I reviewed a number of the meetings, and so I got to see things from interviews to introductions, and from people from Dr. Jenny Lake to Melissa Sonic to Delon Smith to Nasita Thomas to the principals on special assignment. And all of that, now sitting here as someone who's getting introduced myself, it reminds me of a moment when I just got back from vacation with my family and my three sons who are in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. They were at the edge of the Great Lakes and they stuck their toes in, and you could tell that it was colder than they anticipated for that hot summer day. And yet instinctually, without much communication, other than bright eyes towards brothers near them, they ran full speed into the water, towards the waves, towards the depth, towards the expanse. And their joy was so great that they turned around and ran back towards me to invite me in. And so this moment right here, when Melissa Sonic is inviting me into something that she just reintroduced herself to just a few months ago, and said, come join us here at Roseville. That invitation is not something I take lightly, and it feels as momentous as that moment with my boys just the other day on break. And so my life experiences that have helped me become the strong South Asian woman of color and leadership that I am today has a lot of twists and turns, but it lands me with those strong values of belonging and excellence, which I hear resound from every corner in Roseville. When I talk to Jen Wilson or Mary Busman or Jolene Moore, who say, come check us out. Like, we have principal openings and we want you here. To the time on the ground with Harambe students and staff. And this one young scholar and activist turns to her classmate at recess and will be like, I hope she's our next principal. And I'm like, I hope so too, right? And so just to be able to go into an interview, having spent time with kids and being next to the staff that is this interested in academic achievement, but also the emotional ecology of our schools, like that's a place I want to listen and lead with all the love that I have. And so I accept the invitation. I'm honored to be introduced in this space. And like Dr. Lake indicated, it will be fast and furious here just next week already. We'll hit the ground running. And my predecessor is investing a lot of time with me, and the door is continually open to him in the space as I try to continue the imprint of how he led in that space, and then bring some of the uniqueness of my own convictions and courage into the Harambe. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome. And then Melissa, next up.
Oh, can I?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Curtis. Sorry.
Hi there. First of all, welcome. I'm really excited to have you here. We've heard a lot about you, and frankly, if for no other reason, could you sign my book? So it's really good. If you haven't read it, it's really good.
What will be better than that, Director Johnson, is when our students are continue to be published using their voices. And so I only do things as a model of what I believe our staff and students can be in. But
well, I look forward to picking up every article and book that our students when they get published. So welcome aboard.
And what a story about your sons inviting you into the water. That's such a great opportunity to use as a metaphor for your feeling and joining us and coming on board. It's just really nice and uplifting. So thank you very much.
All right. Next, we have Ryan Vernash. So Ryan will be the new principal at Brimhall Elementary School. Ryan comes to us from St. Paul, where he has served as the principal of Maxfield Elementary School for the last 5 years. Ryan was also a teacher at Maxfield from 2004 to 2012 and was the 2010 Minnesota Teacher of the Year. Before becoming the principal at Maxfield, Ryan also served in the St. Paul schools as the director of communications, and prior to that as the policy and strategic planning lead administrator. Ryan is an energetic, relational leader who is committed to social justice and, in his words, radical love. In addition to his principal's license, Ryan holds licenses in K-6 education, mathematics, English as a second language, and early childhood education. The energy that Ryan brings to his work is undeniable. He is passionate about the transformative power of relationships. He believes every child can and will learn, no exceptions. He also has a great deal of experience in restorative practices and believes in the restoration of body and mind. So please join me in welcoming Ryan to the Roseville area schools and the Brimhall school community.
Yay. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. Yeah, I echo what Nasreen said about the joy and love and warmth in every interaction I've had with everybody in the Roseville team. And I never thought I would be leaving my school, to be honest. I've served Maxfield and St. Paul Public Schools for 12 of my 17 years in St. Paul. And something was calling me to Roseville. The stories that I've heard, the narrative that I heard amongst colleagues around the state and around the metro, that there was something special happening in Roseville. The focus on restorative practices, the focus on racial equity, and what I feel is educational justice is what really drives me in my work. And I'll be honest that I hemmed and hawed, and it was a gut wrenching decision. I think I shared in the interview that it was Memorial Day, talking with my wife, and then I hit enter on the application, and then I ran away. and I said, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And I did the background, had some more conversations, and the conversations with the youth at Brimhall were amazing. The student leaders that toured me around, being able to be in believe it was Miss Crane's class, and see the passion that the staff was having, and the students. They were learning about Juneteenth, and just the focus that I felt in the atmosphere about a commitment to justice, just in the conversations, was something that was really exciting. And I come to this work with a learner's mindset, somebody who really wants to get after it for our kids and make sure that we have clear acceleration of outcomes for all of our kids, but especially our Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other students of color. To me, this isn't just a social justice issue, but it's an educational justice. And if we reach educational justice, then that starts to chip away at all the institutional barriers and injustices in every other system. So that's the work that I want to bring. And I'm just, very humbled for the opportunity and the faith that you've instilled in me to be welcomed into this really special team. So I'm thrilled. I am beyond excited. I cannot wait for onboarding Thursday to get in there, and it's just, let's do this. Let's get ready. Let's get after it. I'm kind of jealous, Nasreen, that you get to see kids and be ready, but not all the way jealous, because I need to wrap my mind around some things as well. But it's going to be great. I'm thrilled to be part of the organization and the Roseville team. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yay. Well, thank you both. Again, I think I'll give credit to our staff and our leadership, because I think it's a testament that we attract folks as qualified and passionate as you both are about your profession, about the kids. And I hope that you find us to be everything you'd hoped and more. And we all look forward to what you're going to bring to the district, and your caring and your concern and your skills. So thank you very much. Any other final comments or thoughts from my fellow board members? Todd.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome aboard, both of you. Excellent hires. Very impressed with your background. And Ryan, I got to kind of shout out. I'm a Brimhall parent. I'm a Brimhall PTA member. So all of our schools are wonderful community schools, but you're definitely going to see me at some of the Brimhall PTA meetings. So hopefully they're going to be live and in person.
I look forward to it, Director Anderson. I look forward to learning from you about the Brimhall history and the Brimhall experience. And like I said before, let's get ready to get after it for our kids.
Yep. Welcome
Ryan,
aboard.
I'll say something that's maybe controversial. As a lifelong Bears fan and you being a Packers kid, we can both bond around hating the Vikings. So I know, my God, I'm going to get emails. I apologize. I didn't really mean that. I'm sorry. But welcome. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just
Thanks,
like to
Melissa.
echo it also.
Go ahead.
I feel so incredibly fortunate that we can attract leaders like yourselves to our district, and really looking forward to all you do in your buildings and district-wide, contributing to our moving forward around providing all students a really wonderful school experience and really empowering. So thank you for joining us.
All right. Curtis.
Okay, one last thing. Please let this not be the last time we see from you, hear from you. Okay, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to Dr. Lake. There's gonna, we're here to help. Okay, yeah. If you got something that you're seeing, you want to try something that you think that we can help with, that's what we're here for. So, please reach out to us. So, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you, Melissa. With that, move on. There is no one here in District Center. Mr. Superintendent or Michelle, did we get any letters to be read during the community input section for tonight?
We don't have any.
Thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Curtis, could you take the vote, please?
Treasurer Goggins?
Aye.
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Aye.
Director Chu,
Aye.
Chair Bogoshevsky,
Aye.
and Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you. And we did have gifts again this evening, and Director Goggins has graciously agreed to share those with us tonight.
Would like to thank the Lynn Paul France for providing Edgerton Elementary School funds for student and teacher needs. The Boapong family for providing funds for classroom supplies and books at Harambee Elementary School. And Kristen Tatton providing funds for the boys tennis team at the Roseville Area High School. Thank you so much for helping provide the kind of education we're striving to. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Again, the generosity continues unabated. With that, we'll move to our reports and non-action items. We have one item tonight, and it looks like Dr. Jenny Lake is going to share with us an update on the school resource officers within the district and what our experience has been since we first considered that whole area in depth a year or so ago. So, Dr. Lake, why don't you go ahead and share with us what you have.
Thank you, Chair. Michelle, if you could please share the presentation. I'll add that the presentation was created in partnership with Principal Cook at Roseville Area Middle School and Principal Hester and Associate Principal Angie Woods at Roseville Area High School. Just letting you know how much we've learned this year and the changes we've made and continue to listen to our students and community in this regard. So first off, next slide. In terms of student voice, we really work to center relationships. One quote from Tavion I'll read, and this is in reference to Officer Reski. She's easy to talk to. I don't have to come up to her. She comes to me. It makes me feel good about myself because it makes me feel like she genuinely likes me. And the perspective from students and staff at Roz is that Officer Reski is a positive addition to the staff and has really high quality relationships with all students and staff. Next slide. In terms of staff voice, I'll highlight the quote that Kira Buford provided. She's a behavior supervisor at Ross, and this really relates to and shows that the SRO is integral to school restorative practices. I'll read her quote. The SRO plays an important role in teaching the law to our students. For example, we recently had an interaction with a student that displayed a serious behavior. Instead of expelling the student or even doing an out-of-school suspension, we utilized our SRO to meet the student and explain the laws around the behavior and potential consequences without incriminating the student. This, coupled with our restorative practices, have given us positive outcomes. Additional recent changes with our SROs, we've moved away from a formal law enforcement uniform to a casual professional polo shirt uniform, both at Rams and Ross. We've implemented story circles, and the police chief has joined us in those circles as recently as this past May. Our students serve on the Multicultural Advisory Committee, sponsored by the City of Roseville and the Roseville Police Department. And our SRO also meets with the Ross Student Leadership Advisory Groups. This work will continue next year, as well as the SRO also has been invited to all class meetings that occur every trimester, so there's full transparency and awareness of the SRO within the school. One addition is that Officer Reski and the Roz administrators travel to Rams each spring to introduce Officer Reski and to speak about the role, and then Deputy Nardini joins them in that conversation. Next year, we'll add Parkview in terms of that smooth transition piece. Officer Reski was challenged to work proactively and collaboratively with area police departments on student situations with no direct SRO colleague, because some of our neighboring school districts have dropped their SRO. She's really shouldered that responsibility because we're most comfortable. It's our preference that our SRO works with our students and families, not a patrol officer, due to the centering of that relationship, the influence of that familiar face. All our officers, both at Rams and Roz, will continue professional development with our own staff, both monthly cohort meetings and staff department meetings. Also, our culturally relevant competent teaching training and upcoming trainings on absent narratives and counter narratives. They also participate in the Link for Equity Cultural Humility training sponsored by our Student Services Department, 7 through 12. So to further show that relationship piece, Officer Rescue serves on an e-mentoring committee at ROS. She serves as the advisor of our Raiders Against Destructive Decisions, or RAD club. She assists students with applying for jobs, school activities, and college. She's an avid mentor and involved in school and district-wide safety planning. And again, brings her resources around the Minnesota School Safety Center to our school district. In addition, she also makes many connections with our family and staff outside of school. She follows up with ROS students and families to connect them to resources in the community. She assists families in safeguarding students' private information during this time of online learning. And also she works with families one-on-one on issues that would typically require patrol officers who, again, aren't as familiar with our students. Some highlights for RAMS for this past school year. Officer Nardini spends time in classrooms and in the lunchroom, the cafeteria, playing games and interacting positively with students. She also is an active member of the RAMS ERT, Emergency Response Team, and has helped modify procedures after construction this past year. She is a positive and proactive presence in the hallways, classrooms, and cafeterias. Students do feel comfortable. She has implemented a school-wide age and developmentally appropriate curriculum about internet safety. The SRO at RAMS is a liaison when we have had emergency response come into the building. Officer Nardini has helped develop and implement a new parent pickup procedure to help kids safe, and she is recognized as being widely visible and positive. So just to highlight that our school resource officer, our SRO, we don't want to lose sight of the definition. They are truly a school resource officer, both at RAMS and ROS. We're always dedicated to restorative practices and opportunities for diversion program referral prior to entering the court system. That's of last selection. Finally, another transition is that we have moved to one-year SRO contracts if approved by the board. And the ROS and RAMS admin and students will be directly involved in the hiring process and expectations. And that does include students serving within the hiring process as well. So finally, it is the administrative recommendation of the RAMS and ROS building administrators, as well as the district administration, to retain and extend the current SRO contracts. And I'd like the board and community to know there is a potential grant opportunity that we'll be investigating throughout this coming fall for 22-23 that would allow the city of Roseville Police Department to potentially support RAMS and ROS with additional district-wide support. And that would be of no additional cost to the school district. And I will take questions, and thank you for having me again on this important topic.
Certainly. Thank you, Dr. Lake. I'll open it up to my colleagues for questions or thoughts to Jenny. Curtis.
Hi there. Thank you for the presentation. So the year, the year-to-year contracts, assuming that we vote on that, would that, okay. Sorry. Would students be involved in, for lack of a better term, re-upping a resource officer? I'd understand if you're bringing in a brand new one, they'd be involved, but in the situation where we have one right now, and so we'd want them back next year, would the student voice be used to determine whether or not that person continues in that role?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would anticipate that the students would not be involved in a direct formal evaluation process, but to your point, student voice will be used regularly throughout the school year to determine if that officer is a good fit for the school community, along with community listening sessions within each school community.
And so just a follow up on Curtis's question. So since we're going to be actually voting on the contract renewal this evening, then presumably that has occurred. And maybe share how that's gone, like the direct involvement. Was it student conversations, meetings, emails? How did you actually gather input for student involvement?
Yeah, the administrators, I think, primarily their relationships with students, along with formal class meetings, cohort meetings, the e-mentoring, the relationship with our AVID program, the student advisory boards. So all of those different opportunities throughout the course of the year, knowing it was a different year, certainly with the pandemic and less students in school, but our officer continued to serve an equally important role despite having less students on campus.
Kitty.
You mentioned the various kind of opportunities for training that officers, school resource officers have within the Roseville School District. Are there also opportunities externally that helps prepare these officers as we would potentially bring in new people into the roles in the future?
I can't comment on currently. I don't know what's currently being offered, but I do know that prior to Officer Reske joining ROS, there was a school resource officer training program that each officer had to go through. So I know that has very, very recently been active, but I would have to, confirm that continues to be offered. Yeah, but we do have very specific expectations for the resource officers heading into our school communities.
Yeah.
Other questions? Rose?
I have, yeah. Thank you for the presentation. Because I hear so much about the getting rid of SRO movement out there. How is our Roseville way as compared to what is going on in our surrounding districts? And I'm just kind of wanting to understand how are we in comparison? Because I know there is such a movement out there to get rid of it, and I find us so innovative in the way we are approaching it. It's just very restorative and really get back to the, like you say, what is the original intent, right, of a SRO, and how we are doing that in a very intentional way to include voices. So I just want to hear what you are hearing, or whether you find out anything about other districts.
I appreciate that question. I think you've named it. I think that our relationship with Roseville schools in the city of Roseville is a standard that all could be replicated throughout the state and the country for that matter. I think it is about centering the voices of our community and our students and the relationship that we have with one another. The city and the police department were very open to every single request that we have made in terms of our expectations, working with our school resource officer and decriminalizing the approach, centering the relationship, involving our SRO in our restorative practices that we currently have and continue to grow. So I just truly think it's the really healthy and growing relationship that occurs both individually with the officer and the principal, but also with the city and the school district.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I wonder, I'm just thinking out loud here, because of that movement and because of the student activism in that movement, I do wonder, right, with us really talking a lot about counter narrative, right? There's always another side of a story, another narrative to the movement. I wonder if there are places where our experience of it need to be shared widely, so that students who are active in this movement can maybe really understand a little bit more nuance of the situation, and really think about that, like, it's not so black and white, right? The issue is not so black and white, and how we are approaching it is very different. So I was just thinking out loud. I was thinking about one of my colleagues who actually lead that movement. I might actually think about maybe connecting him to you just as a way to provide the counter narrative to that what is out there.
Thank you. And I know that our building administrators are committed to including that community voice and continued growth of student voice as we move into the fall. And they can do that even now with our use of town halls and the combination of Zoom and in person, and really increase the voice that's out there.
I want to make a note here.
Other questions for Jenny?
As we move forward, what do you see as the most significant challenge to continue to move that in the direction of more partnership, more inclusion, decriminalization, et cetera?
Say the first part again.
I was just saying, as you're looking forward to continue to evolve this situation, what do you see as the biggest challenge to be able to move that successfully in the direction you're guiding it?
No, I'm not sure if I can identify any specific obstacle. I think time is one. I think the need for a continued partnership in terms of the city and the police department really committing to the journey of Roseville area schools and our commitment to racial equity and really being open to that. I think one nod of progress is the police department and the city completely supported when our 300 plus students chose to walk out of Roseville area high school and march to the police department. They were in support and supported that walk in terms of safety and listening to student voice. So that just needs to continue, and that system needs to be established to a greater extent to move from pilot to permanent.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, it looks like we've asked what we've needed to, Jenny, so thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Yep, and with that, we'll move into our action items, and the first one is, again, Dr. Lake presenting the district's recommendation that we approve the one-year contract for the Roseville Police Department for SRO at the high school. So Jenny, not sure what else you want to say about it? Maybe talk a little bit about the move to 1 year. That was basically to give more flexibility for us to end it if we thought it wasn't going the direction we wanted to.
Yeah, nothing more to add on my end, except thank you for noting the one-year contract, just to give the school district and of course the board more authority in that decision, more frequency, and really just generating more voice throughout the process. And that's both for the city and for the county.
Thank you. Then I guess with that, I'd go ahead and welcome a motion and a second to approve the contract for Roz. And then we can discuss further once it's on the table if we choose.
So move.
Thank you. Thank you. Further questions or discussions? Looks like not really a lot. So with that, unless I'm missing someone, I guess then Clerk Johnson, could you take the vote for the 1 year renewal for SRO for the high school?
Got it. Director Chu,
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins,
Aye.
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Nay.
Chair Boguszewski,
Aye.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you. The motion carries. With that, we'll go into the second action item, which is a similar recommendation to approve the 1 year renewal for the officer at Rams provided by Ramsey County. So once again, I'd welcome a motion and a second.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I do have a question if, Jenny, about this position now, Officer Nardini at Roseville Area Middle School. Is this position, is this also similar to Officer Reski? Is Ramsey County, I know in the past it was like 2 days a week, 3 days a week. I was just trying to see in the contract if it's every day or if hours are a bit different or if it's still more of a kind of a part-time situation. Just wanted that a little bit clearer.
It's a 60% on the contract, so 3 days a week.
Okay.
And same role expectations.
Thank you.
And then Jenny, just to clarify, if the grant possibility does come to fruition, then the change would be that instead of Ramsey County, we would have the Rams officer also supplied by the Roseville Police Department?
That's correct. And Ramsey County has been open to that conversation. So certainly nothing in print yet because we're just investigating the grant, but both the city of Roseville, because they would be working in Little Canada. So there need to be more conversations, but everyone so far has been very open to that possibility.
Thank you. Any further questions? Looks like none. Curtis, could you take the vote on this one, please?
Treasurer Goggins,
Aye.
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Nay.
Director Chu,
Aye.
Chair Boguszewski,
Aye.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you once again. It carries. Thank you, Dr. Lake, and thank you through you to all those who were involved in this and helping make it something that, as Director Chu has pointed out, seems to be a counter narrative, great term, to what is out there in the community. So appreciate all your work on this. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your support.
The next item up is the levy referendum resolution, and I believe Business Director Sherry Thompson will lead us into this discussion and vote. Sherry.
So actually, I think it will be me doing that. I'm happy to present.
Sorry about that,
this.
Dr. Sicoli. My apologies. I saw
that's
Sherry's name on the
memo.
thing. There you go. Yep.
Understandable, but yeah, I'm happy to present on this very important topic. So for many months, we've been reviewing our finances as we look ahead and plan for ongoing financial stability. And as you, the school board, knows, one important component of our funding is the voter-approved operating levy, which is up for renewal in November. You also know that our revenue is not keeping pace with our expenses, so an increase to the levy has been considered. State law requires voter approval of our levy, whether a renewal or an increase. So tonight, we will present our administrative recommendation on what to bring to voters on the November 2nd, 2021 ballot. So before we present our recommendation, we want to review what brought us to this point. And these are the areas on the slide there that we will cover in our presentation. First, a reminder of who we are as a school district. We have a long and proud history of providing strong educational programs, a talented, caring staff, and a shared vision of excellence. We are also fortunate to have decades of generous and reliable financial support from the community, which has enabled us to meet the educational needs of our students and their families. We also work hard to be good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars and to be financially transparent and credible. And a couple examples are we recently received the Certificate of Excellence for Excellent Comprehensive Financial Reporting, demonstrating our commitment to financial transparency and accountability. And also, the district's credit rating was recently upgraded by Moody's Financial Services. Some recent reasons we are proud include that our staff really worked well together to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're so proud of how staff, students, and families have made this year work despite all the challenges. At the district level and in all our school buildings, we've maintained connections with families and have even built, in some cases, stronger relationships with some of our families who weren't as engaged in more traditional outreach activities. And while we missed our face-to-face engagement over the last year, technology has allowed us to innovate and make the best of a difficult situation. Some families tell us they've never been so engaged in what their students are learning or as connected with their students' teachers. Of course, we're so proud of the remarkable learning spaces that we've been able to build for students and teachers thanks to the investment made by our community in the 2017 bond referendum. Those funds, which must be used exclusively for capital building projects, have resulted in some of the most advanced learning spaces in the state. And as we near the end of the construction, we're happy to say we remain on time and within budget. Many of the investments to our facilities allow us to better prepare our students for high demand, high wage jobs and post-secondary learning opportunities. At Roseville Area High School, we've been able to develop our Raider Career Pathways program, which connects students with businesses right here in our community for hands-on learning. With that as background, let's move to our finances and the operating levy recommendation. We've been working on this levy recommendation for many months. You, the board, receive regular updates on our budget planning for the future. And these updates have included various scenarios for our operating levy renewal and or increase for discussion purposes. What to do about our operating levy has been a discussion point since November of 2019. We recently surveyed our community to get their input on funding priorities and support for any possible tax increase to benefit our school programs. And you had a healthy discussion about levy options for November at your last school board work study session. So tonight we will recommend what to bring to voters in November based on all this planning and discussion. This spring, we conducted a random sample, scientifically projectable phone survey with our community. Here are a few highlights that show what is on our community members' minds as they think about our schools. The final list of bullet points actually shows how parents who know our schools best rate us on some key items. So the parent percentages are in parentheses. We also asked what items community members and parents would support if additional levy funding was available. The items listed here receive support from at least 2/3 of respondents and are listed in parent priority order from most to least supported. Looking at our finances, it's becoming increasingly challenging to maintain our quality programs with the resources provided. And as you can see from the graph, for nearly 2 decades, state funding has not kept pace with inflation or increasing educational costs. If state funding had merely kept pace with inflation since 2003, this year alone we would have received an additional $4 million. In addition to state funding not keeping pace, there's other financial pressures. Our special education programs, which are required in a very vital, important, wonderful part of our district, cost us nearly $10 million more each year than we receive. So of course, this adds to the pressure on our budget. Due to the pandemic, the federal government has provided additional funds to schools, for which we are very grateful. However, as a group, these are one-time funds focused on pandemic relief needs, and they will not address our long-term budget sustainability. Given these financial realities, we've made cuts to live within our means. To manage increasing expenses amid inadequate revenue, we have cut more than $8 million since 2013. These cuts have negatively affected staffing at all levels, student supports, and class sizes. Without additional revenue, these cuts will continue. Our second largest source of financial support is our local community through operating levies. Levies support our operating budget, enabling us to provide the staff, materials, and supports our students need. And the last time we asked our community to increase our operating levy was 15 years ago. We do our best to live within our means and only go to voters when necessary. Many people aren't aware that there's a legal distinction between different pots of monies that schools receive, in particular the difference between levies and bonds. So we had a bond request in 2017, and we are so grateful our community supported that request. It's enabled us to make building improvements all across our district. But bond funds can only be used for building projects. Bonds are for buildings. Operating levies are for learning. Levies are for learning. They support classroom instruction, teachers, and other school operating costs. Currently, our operating levy is below most of our neighboring and comparable school districts. As this chart shows, which includes other Suburban East Conference school districts, and in addition, we added North St. Paul, Maplewood, Oakdale, since they're adjoin us. But as this chart shows, Mounds View currently receives nearly twice as much in per student's funds through its voter-approved operating levy as we do. So that means less funding for our schools, our staff, and our students as compared to other school districts. Our voter-approved operating levy is a critical source of funding, obviously, for us. If it isn't renewed in November, the district would lose $8 million annually. We also know that if we only renew the levy but don't get more revenue, cuts would continue. We recommend an increase in the operating levy in addition to asking voters to renew our current levy. We recommend putting the renewal and increase as two separate questions on the November ballot and believe it is the most prudent course of action. Question 2 would be contingent on question 1. That is to say that question 1 must pass in order for question 2 to pass. This chart is a snapshot of a detailed tax impact for various levels of home value in our community. So for context, the impact, if both questions are approved, will be $23 per month on a $281,000 value home, which is the median value in Roseville area schools. The renewal of our levy, which is question 1, would continue to generate about $8 million per year if passed. The proposed increase of our levy, which is question 2, would bring an additional $7 million per year if passed. So if both questions are approved, the new levy would be in place for 10 years. So this slide shows ballot language for question 1, and that ballot language is dictated by law. So that's what, if you approve a recommendation tonight, that's what the ballot language will look like on November 2nd for question 1. The next slide has similar ballot language for question 2. And I'd just like to point out that you can see it starts with if school district ballot question 1 is approved. And it says that because, of course, question 2 is contingent on question 1. In other words, the increase can only pass if voters also approve the renewal. So a little bit about what it means to pass or not pass these two questions, if these are questions you choose to put on the ballot. It's important to understand these consequences of success or failure of both questions. So these next slides spell out the various scenarios that are possible. So this, in question 1, passage of question 1 would help lessen drastic cuts, but we would not be able to address any critical needs. And in fact, cuts would still be needed if question 2 did not pass along with question 1 passage. If question 1 fails, we would face very significant cuts in several areas and take quite a hit on our financial health. Question 2, if that also passes in addition to question 1, and it can only pass if question 1 were to pass, we would have funds available to address some critical needs such as class sizes. We have higher class sizes than the metro averages, various student supports and academic programs. It would also strengthen our financial stability. But if question 2 were to fail, we have 3 slides that outline what would take place. And so this first slide outlines staff cuts that would be needed and the resulting impact on class sizes and lack of student and staff supports. So that's the staffing piece of question 2 were to fail. This slide outlines the program cuts that would occur as well as fee increases. And then this slide, finally, if question 2 fails, our financial health will continue to suffer, and we will continue to, as a district, to have budget cuts. So this slide summarizes our recommendation. The renewal is a no tax increase request, but if only the renewal passes, it would also come with continued budget cuts and obviously no ability to do more for our students. The increase, which can only pass if voters also approve question 1, would give us the ability to address class sizes, expand student supports and programs such as career pathways, and would provide financial stability. Our average homeowner would see a tax increase of approximately $23 per month. So school board members, to plan for your decision, we've been reviewing financial information with you for more than a year. Tonight it's time to have your final discussion, answer any questions, share your thoughts about this planning process, and then vote on this recommendation for the November 2nd ballot. We certainly appreciate your careful consideration of these important issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sicoli, again, for a very thorough and comprehensive report along with your recommendations this evening, so I'll open it up to my fellow board members for questions or comments. Frank.
I'd just like to comment that Dr. Sicoli has educated us and the community to the extent that the community is paying attention, and even to the extent that they're not paying attention, as to the need for these referenda to pass. And I feel very confident in my vote tonight for these measures, or for this ballot language, that the work has been done scrupulously by the district to minimize the amount of money that's needed to provide the excellent education that we're providing. And I'm perfectly confident that that we are not overstepping at all, and we are asking the community for what they really, what really makes sense for the students in the community.
Thank you, Frank. Very well said. Other questions or comments? Kitty.
I echo Frank's strong support for this. One of the things that I particularly appreciated about our district is that we give tremendous thought before we go out and ask for a referendum. We have waited the 15 years. It's not like we're continuously going out and asking for more operating funds. And on the bond side, we actually waited 25 years for the bond. So we're quite fiscally conservative. And I think it's incredibly helpful how well the district has laid out the impact of passage and or failure. I think that's really helps people put in perspective what the funds are going to do and why it's so critical for our school district and our youth, who are our future, to provide that kind of resources, to provide that solid education we all believe in.
Thank you, Kitty. Other thoughts, comments? Looks like we're good. Oh, Rose, go ahead.
First, I have to unmute. I have to say, as a fairly new board member, I can still say that because most of it was during a global pandemic. I've been so appreciative of the deliberation that we have taken to discuss, and I've learned so much. I've learned so much about this. And the presentation tonight was so wonderful. It was just kind of put everything together, the context, what is recommended, the consequences, and what happened one way or the other. Just has been so well put together by our district administrators and just your leadership, Dr. Sicoli. It's just been amazing. And I definitely echo what Kitty and Frank said, that I'm in full support of this recommendation. And I look forward to kind of like what I can do as a board member to support this, to really garner the support that we need from the community to make sure that the future of Roseville Area School is secure. So thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rose. Todd?
Echo everything that's been said. I want to thank Dr. Sicoli for this wonderful presentation, and the staff and the time and energy put behind this. And I also want to thank him for drawing again on that community survey that was taken care of, that was done in April. I fully support this recommendation. What we're doing tonight is taking care of our teachers. We need this to pass, to take care of the teachers. That was highlighted in the survey. What do people in this district really value? We're listening to the community, teachers. It's the wide range and array of programs. We're doing that with this recommendation. So thanks again for bringing that up. We're listening to the community.
Curtis.
Not much more to be said that hasn't been said, but I will say that I do fully support this. What a lot of viewers might not know or truly appreciate is that we have been having these conversations, or rather in-depth conversations, for over a year now, and truly, if there was a way to make this work, where we did not have to go out and ask for money, we'd be doing that. In fact, we have done that. We have cut $8 million, over $8 million since 2013, and somehow have provided an amazing education to our students, and that's a testament to the staff that we have. And so we need to take care of them. And we just last, it was either our last meeting or the one before, we had a presentation on all of the new courses that have been coming in, and those go away, if this doesn't pass. So I will, and along with my board mates, I know we'll all do everything within our power to help make sure this gets passed, because it's just the right thing to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. I think we've heard from everyone. Maybe the only thing I'll add is builds on Curtis and harkens back to Frank and close the circle. We are elected officials, and our accountability is to the community and our constituency. And as Frank said in his very opening sentence, I'm 100% not just comfortable but confident that the work has gone into this to project what we need. This is not icing on the cake. This is not something nice to have. This is not something we want to have. This is absolutely essential to maintain the existing infrastructure of our school system and our school district. It's to keep the teachers. Question one, is absolutely necessary to avoid disastrous cuts in terms of staff. And question two will just barely bring us up to maybe not even par as to where we should have been already, given the inability of the legislatures to fund us. This should have happened over the years inflationarily. So to those out there who may wonder, I, along with my fellow board members, am totally 100% on board with this and see it as something that is absolutely necessary for the survival of our district. So again, thank you, Dr. Sicoli and your team for putting this all together and educating us, again, as Frank said, on the realities of what's going on and where we can go from here. So thank you very much. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the referendum questions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Curtis, could you take the vote, please?
Chair Boguszewski.
Aye.
Director Chu.
Aye.
Director Anderson.
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins.
Aye.
Director Shaw.
Aye.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you. With that, next item, and I think this time I'm correct that it is Business Director Sherry Thompson who will be leading us through a brief, I'm told, update on the preliminary budget that we need to approve tonight, following on the public budget presentation we had a few weeks ago, I think. So Sherry, take it away.
Yes. Okay. So do you see a whole bunch of numbers up on your screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I see little squiggly things. If you tell me their numbers, then I'll believe you. No, we're good. We're good.
So yes, the board is required by statute to adopt a budget prior to the start of the new fiscal year. This is another item that we have been working on that for months. Actually, we're always looking at the budget and revising and updating. You do have a 51-page document, I believe. It's the entire budget in your board packet. I will spare you the review of each page. But seriously, if you have questions, please reach out to me. We did have the general fund budget hearing on May 25th. So we kind of hit the highlights there. But this is the detailed budget for all funds. I do want to just make mention of a couple of things. So this is the very last page in the budget document, which really is just a summary. And a couple of things that kind of stand out. And when we talk about sustainability and even our previous levy or our previous board agenda item, which is the levy, I want to point a few things out here as well. Obviously, the last year and a half have been unlike any others. Even as we develop our budget, right? Kind of trends were blown out the window the last 2 years. So we continue to take a look at that. But I also want to point out you'll see some significant numbers changing. So for instance, our revised revenues this last year and our unassigned was about $93.7 million. You see an increase here to 96.5. That's an increase in funding of $2.8 million. What I do want to point out is we built a 1% increase because we weren't sure what the legislature was doing. So we were conservative and built a 1% increase into the basic funding formula. So for us is about $600,000. Just so you know what they're reporting, and this is per AMSD, is that the tentative agreement, and I think they're going to have some data out either tonight or tomorrow morning, that they have agreed upon a 2.45% increase in the formula for 22 and a 2% increase for the 23 fiscal year. They have also extended the voluntary pre-K program, which is great because we participate in that. But there's not a lot of other things. I've heard that they have increased the cross subsidy on special ed, but I haven't seen those numbers yet. So we will see a further increase, and we'll, as we have other years, when we didn't know what that number was, we will adjust during the mid-year budget revision. We'll increase this revenue, and I think it will have an impact for us of about $800,000 in additional revenue. But another point I want to make, this additional 2.8, as I said, the increase in the funding formula was really what we have here is about $600,000. The additional funds that we see here are because of those one-time CARES funds. We're able to use those funds to continue our operations. So, as we lost enrollment last year, and we're projecting that about 60% of that enrollment will come back, these CARES dollars are very important in helping us continue our operations. And then further moving to the right, so that's why you see that big increase. Otherwise, we would be in another year of budget reductions for this next year. And then moving to the right, even with those CARES dollars, because again, we do anticipate additional dollars. We are drawing down the fund balance a little bit right now by $1.5 million. So that takes us just below the 3% fund balance target. But as I mentioned, with the additional the formula money, we'll end up above that 3% target for the end of next year. And then a couple other things I want to point out in the general fund under some of our restricted categories where you may see some big increases. This is listed in the narrative there in the budget. But one thing, looking at our operating capital, where we see an increase there of about $1.6 million. That is for the lease levy. That's really the financing for the Abetu Teche. I don't know if I have it right. I'm getting better, I think, for the new education center. So that's the levy that from the certificate of participation sale. So that's why we're seeing such a big increase in the operating capital revenue. And then on the expenditure side, we also have that first principal and interest payment for that. The other item that I wanted to point out is changes in long-term facilities maintenance. The state has changed some of that reporting. So, we've got about, we spend close to $11 million a year on those facility improvements. And previously, everything but $1 million ran through a separate fund, through a construction fund. And the state has changed the reporting on that. So only projects, a single site project that's over $2 million will run through that fund. So that's why you're seeing an increase in the general fund long-term facility maintenance in both the revenues and expenditures. And that, of course, these variances account for the big jump. So you may ask, wow, how did our revenue go from 107 to 114 million? And the same likewise on our expenditures. So some of that's just that there's certificates of participation, and then also recategorizing that long-term facility maintenance money. Other things that I'll just make mention of, as I said, the pandemic has certainly impacted all of our programming. Our food service fund, as you look at those documents, if you look through the detailed documents, you may notice that all of our revenue is going through a summer food program. And the reason is, since all students are eligible for free meals, the USDA has that set up so it doesn't run through our school program. It actually runs as a summer program. So you may wonder why we don't have any funds coming into school lunch. It's because it's set up as a summer program. That summer rate also provides us a higher reimbursement rate, and we're able to continue to provide free breakfast, lunch, and snack for all of our students. Snack or a light supper. So that's good. And then you will also notice that as this pandemic has wound down, you'll see community services, some of those programs bouncing back. And then also with not only our childcare, much of this year we were required to provide free childcare during the school day to our tier 1 workers. So that funding is going away, but we're also not offering that free childcare, and we're projecting our revenues go up for the childcare services that we charge for, and other returns like now with the new building opening, we'll be running an aquatics program again, and some of our enrichment programs. So those numbers are also looking better as we come to an end and can return to more in-person programming. So those are really just some of the comments that I have. I don't know if there are any questions. I'd be willing to stand for any questions on this, or if you get into the budget document and have questions, let me know. This document is on our website under finance. We have our budgets and our audits out there for every year. So if anyone wants to do some interesting reading, it's there for your enjoyment.
Thank you very much, Sherry, and a true finance director who would read this for enjoyment. So there you go. With that, I will open it up to any questions or comments from my fellow board members. I'll have to see who might have one.
I just have a comment.
Go ahead. I can't see everybody on the screen right now, so go ahead and shout it out. guys.
Wait. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, cool.
Just stop sharing.
There you go. All right, Rose, please.
Yes, I just have a comment. Here we are at the end of the school year, and I just want to acknowledge your work, Sherry, throughout the year to be agile with all that is going on because of the pandemic, where, usually maybe it's one change and now that it's like change everywhere. No, so it's like I wanted to acknowledge your work in this and your expertise that keep us on track on what is going on. There is so much unknown. I mean, every time you present, you always talk about how some things we know, some things we still don't know. And so just really, here we are, another year has passed, and we are able to have a good sense and good grounding of where things are financially, and thanks to your hard work and your expertise and really the way you present and the way the work, such complicated topics that you are able to present and let us know what is going on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm fortunate to be part of a great team.
Any other questions or comments? Looks like we're good to move on. Thank you very much, Sherry. With that, I'm sorry. Here we go. With that, we go to the filing dates, which is kind of a pro forma thing.
Don't we have to approve the budget?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, there you go. Hey, sorry about that, guys. Yes, I am sorry. I would welcome a motion to approve the preliminary budget as presented tonight by Finance Director, and a second to that. Thank you very much.
I move the 2021-2022 budget be adopted.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Curtis, could you please take the vote for us? Thank you so much.
Yes, Director Anderson,
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins,
Aye.
Director Chu,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Aye.
Chair Boguszewski,
Aye.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. It's like some days, Now we're ready to move on. So next is we just need to approve a resolution establishing the filing dates for school board candidacy for election this year. So I know, Michelle, you'd prepared this. I don't know if there's much to really report on it. I can just share for those who are watching. Ramsey County conducts our elections, and the county establishes the filing dates for the elections and fulfills all the requirements to hold the elections on behalf of the district. But we do need to take action just to approve that and confirm the dates that are set by the county. And so there's a resolution. We don't need to read it aloud. I think the motion can just be to approve it as written, but it does specify that the election will occur on Tuesday, November 2nd. The filing period for anyone interested in becoming a candidate for school board will open on Tuesday, July 27th at 8 a.m. and it will remain open and close at the end of day 5 p.m. on Tuesday, August 10th. Anyone who does choose to run needs to pay a filing fee of $2. $2 to do that, and that's done down at the county building. And there are 3 at-large seats. So we'll see. We do have 3 members who could choose or to choose not to run for re-election for those seats, but they're all at-large seats. So anyone who is interested is free to file and become a candidate. So I don't know if there's any other questions or thoughts or comments on that. If not, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution to confirm the establishment of the affidavit filing dates for school board candidacy.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Director Johnson, could you take the vote, please?
Sure.
I'll try not to forget votes anymore. So,
Director Shaw,
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins,
Aye.
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Director Chu,
Aye.
Chair Boguszewski,
aye. Thank you.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
With that, the final action item tonight is a work study session. And Dr. Lake, do you want to maybe share what this is about?
Yeah, this study session will serve as a planning retreat for district leaders and school board members. And as the memo suggests, again, opportunity for team building, discuss the upcoming operating levy, district leadership roles and responsibilities, and of course, opportunities for growth as we enter a post-pandemic world in the fall. Hopeful for a post-pandemic world.
Great. And the date and time again of when this will be in the location?
Yeah, thank you. Thursday, July 29th, 5 to 8 p.m. at the Roseville Area High School Media Center.
Thank you. Any questions? Then I entertain a motion to approve to set the study session date as described, and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Curtis, could you take the vote?
Sure. Chair Bogoshevsky,
Aye.
Director Chu,
Aye.
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Treasurer Goggins,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Hi.
Clerk Johnson votes aye.
Thank you. That concludes action items. Now we move to the study session report, and Director Chu will be sharing what we did at our last study session. Rose.
Absolutely. So we had 3 topics, and let me just set the context here. I've been very appreciative of our study sessions, even though sometimes it gets really long, partly because it really is a chance to learn a lot about some of the ongoing efforts that are happening in the district, and also like 2 of the topics that have been discussed today at the board meeting and decided on. We used the study session to really dig in, to really learn and really understand all the things that we need to consider. And we ask lots of questions. We consider options before we go for a vote. So I have really appreciated the role of the study session that we have as a board to be in this learning space, to really hear from our district staff and administration, and also for us as a body to have the space to discuss and ask questions. So thank you so much for preparing us for that kind of space. So the 3 topics that we talk about, this is back on June 8th, were there was a presentation made on the K-6 English Language Arts update. And it was a great presentation by Jake and Melissa, plus 3 teachers, kind of an update on the program review of our efforts in the district. And it was very comprehensive. It was really wonderful to hear about how we are looking at improving or constantly improving on how we deliver on literacy instruction. And a quote that is really speaking to the heart, right? The idea that literacy instruction is our largest social justice issue. To make sure that all our students have access, not some, all our students have access to be able to read and write, and to be able to process information. That's just so important. So really, thank you for the work of staff to give us that overview. And part of the program evaluation were many steps. And some of the steps has to look at what is the current design, and then what are the data, informed by data, performance data, and then also getting input from stakeholders. And some of the input is still ongoing. There are some efforts, I think this fall, to get more input. And then also looking at it from an equity lens, really analyzing it from an equity lens. I really appreciate that. And then there was a page at the end that was about all the ways that we dream of what literacy instruction could be for the district. And to have that is so grounding, right? Like, why are we doing all this? Let's get back to the why. There are ways that we are dreaming of what we can be and what we should be. So really an excellent presentation about that. And then the second topic, and I just want to say, I can't wait to hear more as we move forward, more to come on all the great things that are happening there. And then the second one is really looking at what we discussed tonight, the different options. And I really appreciated our financial advisor, Atlas, like comprehensive analysis and figures on what will be the tax implication for our voters and for our community, like, you know, different property value, and then what the tax implication will be for the different options that we will have. And I think those charts are also included in tonight's board presentation. And so we had great discussion about that. We debated about that. Which option do we want? What is the pros and cons on each of the options? And so, so I think at least for me personally, I left feeling really good about the discussion we had and where we're heading, and also trusting, given all the discussion that we have, that we also want to make sure that whatever we decide is something that we are collaborating with administration, and that this is something that we can all get behind to really have a campaign around this, so that we can be where we need to be financially for the future of Roseville. And then finally, there was a preliminary presentation on SRO, because it's been over a year since we, I think some of you might remember, we had some of those community conversations because of the killing of George Floyd. And then there was the whole SRO conversation. And we had a series of conversations with the community to try to understand what is Roseville's relationship with SRO. And I feel like we learned a lot as a community, and we decided that that presentation needed to be done today at the school board meeting, so that the public need to hear what has happened in this 1 year. And so hopefully, if you did not hear the earlier presentation, is part of today's recording. And so really appreciate again our staff and administration, the hard work that has gone in, and the idea of including our student voice, including stakeholder voice, our community voice, is so important, so that we approach this in a restorative way, and the relationship that we have with our SROs is effective, and it really is in service of our students and family, and the safety of our students and family. So really thank you for that work. So that's my report. Those are 3 big topics that we had. It was a great study session. So
thank you, Rose. Very well summarized. I think so well summarized to the point where, again, we consider we just make Rose the permanent recorder. No, we won't do that to you. We won't do that to you.
I think we do say that after every single one of us gives a report.
We do. That's probably true. That's probably true. That's probably true, Todd. That's true. And, you know, speaking of reports, it is now time for the board report. So I'll, send it around if anyone has anything that they'd like to share tonight. Curtis, go ahead.
Okay. Was able to attend the American Indian Parent Group. The biggest takeaway from that was that it was Dr. Favor's last American Indian Parent Group meeting, and we spent a fair amount of that time letting Dr. Favor know how much we appreciate his work, and how much he'll be missed. And so there's not enough time to go into that. He's going to be a phenomenal superintendent. DeLon Smith will be attending the meeting with me in the future. And our job is just to keep it going. So you have my word that I will do everything in my power to make that happen. So the next thing is that had a meeting with AMSD, which at the time there was not a lot there because the legislature was pretty much blocked. And so Sherry did, as always, when it comes to numbers, there's no one better. Yes, AMSD is currently reporting that we have an agreement for a 2.45% increase. Weird where they came up with that, but 2.45%, and 2% the following year. We have literally no other information. And I was trying to get more information during the meeting, so probably won't hear anything until sometime tomorrow. So that's okay. Let's see. Big shout out to Miss Vasquez from one of our phenomenal teachers at Roseville Area Middle School, who went above and beyond teaching our kids about Juneteenth. The kids were out actually placing lawn signs along County Road B2 in front of the schools and educating passerbys about Juneteenth. Very cool. And they were actually featured in a Communities That Care segment. You know, personally, I love this on a number of levels because I remember the first time my youngest came to me and said, why aren't we learning about Juneteenth in school? And I didn't have a really good answer. And so to see that is happening is warms my heart. More than I can say. So thank you, Ms. Vasquez, and to all the teachers that are doing such a great job in teaching about Juneteenth and other parts of history that can be difficult to talk about, but they need to be talked about. Which brings me to the Social Studies Standards Review Committee. So the entire group came together last Friday. A lot of work still to do. We don't exactly have, we had hoped to get second revision out by now. It's looking like it's going to be closer to the first part of July now, but you know, better to have it right than early. So keep your eyes peeled. It will be a coming. It'll be awesome. I promise you that. And then the last thing was that I had the opportunity to speak at the Juneteenth ceremony at Central Park, hosted by Do Good Roseville. This was actually their third annual Juneteenth celebration. Third in 4 years because there was not one last year because COVID. But it was nice to be out and talk to people about what I know, my experiences regarding Juneteenth. And hopefully this will continue. It's 4 years ago, it was just a small group of people that, 10 people, and we all kind of knew each other. And this year we had, quite a gathering. So that was really nice to see. So we will see what happens as that goes forward. So hats off to, again, folks at Do Good Roseville who have been pushing this for a long time. It's hard work does pay off. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? Katie.
I I've got a couple of things to report on. One thing kind of touches on what Sherry shared with us and the complexity of all the different things she has to deal with. I had a chance to attend the Minnesota Department of Education American Recovery Act presentation regarding summer academics and mental health support that invited board members and others. And it got into a bit more detail than I was expecting, but the complexity, and that was just one small part of the American Recovery Act or plan. And it was just insightful to me to see how complex the overall thing is, but even just getting into one single element. So appreciate Sherry's expertise in helping figure out what and all would qualify, along with everybody else working on it, so that we can take full benefit for our students of what that has to offer. I had an opportunity to attend the Northeast Metro 916 Intermediate School District P3 Innovations Conference. And it was really exciting to see it. It was about people, places, and programming. That's what the 3 Ps are. There were just a couple things I thought I'd highlight for you. One was the keynote speaker who talked about the intersection of mental health and academic instruction, and talked about how students' mental health develops normally and how various challenges can develop along the way, as well as what can we do from a school environment in terms of the place, in terms of the people working with the students, as well as the programming to help students be successful. That was fascinating, and it is, I believe it's online and can be accessed if folks have an interest on that. The only other one that I was going to highlight for you was I went to one that was to me really insightful because I just did not grasp how challenging it could be. And it was a dual approach to mental health and education. So it was working with Setting Forth students who are also have had significant trauma and have mental health needs. And they talked about how they're generally seeing increased aggression from our students to the students, and a lot of that being based that some of the placements have a lot more significant, unique special ed and mental health needs. And it was a program where they really integrated throughout the day, having a mental health therapist, having a life skills counselor, and having a teacher, and working in partnership, and the success they've had in this kind of innovative approach. And just, to me, it was really insightful how challenging that work can be, how intense a support is needed to help those students really move forward and be able to find ways to deal with their anger or their frustration or their interpersonal skills in acceptable ways, and the success they've had in helping students see that was just really fascinating for me to learn more about. And then I would be very remiss if I didn't add to Curtis's comment to thank Dr. Favor for his contributions to the districts over the last few years. Has been really valuable, and to looking forward to his leadership in 917 and all he will contribute there as we watch his progress going forward. Thank you, Dr. Favor.
Thank you, Kitty. Next up. Hi, Dr. Favor. How you doing, Mike? Frank.
Just following on Kitty's attendance of the P3 conference and talking about the Setting For students, the Cambria Hills facility was forced to close back about the 10th of June. And that's one that's a residential facility, and it has 916 provides the educational support there. The staff, so that closed quite suddenly, and the staff have been reabsorbed into 916 without any loss as far as I know. And they're hoping that it will be someone else will come along and reestablish it because there are students who very much need that kind of support. Also, I just wanted to say that in the 2nd of June meeting, board meeting of the 916 board. That was Connie Hayes' last meeting. He's handing it over to Valerie Bowe, who has been an assistant superintendent for a long time at 916. And she gave her final superintendent's report, which was mostly talking about equity and the equity journey that they are taking there at 916. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Frank. Rose or Todd, anything? Todd?
Couple things. I want to piggyback on what everyone else has said. Dr. Favor, you're going to be missed. We know you'll do excellent things at 917. I've always liked the word that you've used from day one, how intentional you are with our students and the equity work that you've done. Kudos to you and your efforts here. You'll definitely be missed. And I wanted to make sure too that, I mentioned that over the past couple of weeks, by virtue of having a recent grad, I've been able to attend a lot of graduation parties. And I'm continually amazed. I've always known about this district's ability to turn out wonderful student athletes, but talking to everyone at these grad parties, so to speak, just talking to these student athletes, the well-roundedness of these students here. It's a testament to a lot of hard work of staff, the hard work of Dr. Sicoli and everyone around him, his team. And just again, to highlight the recent news that came from MDE about graduation rates. We're doing a good job in this district, folks. Our graduation rate has increased. And it's just, I see it when I talk to some of these wonderful student athletes in this district at these graduation parties, and I have a few more to go to as well in the coming weeks. But it's been great talking to them about their plans. What do they want to do? What career or what college or what vocation they want to take up? It's a great reminder of what this district is doing. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Todd. Rose, anything?
Yeah, I'll just a couple of things. I just want you to know I didn't do a whole lot in terms of like really putting on the school board hat this past 2 weeks. I don't know what happened. My work got too busy. However, just so that you know, Roseville's equity journey is front and center in some work that I'm doing at Monique. As we are looking at kind of the racial equity framework that is happening around the country, Roseville is one of the examples that we use. And so I just wanted to like call that out. And so it's very ever present to, as we work with another district, to kind of look up to Roseville and say, what is our journey? Like no district is perfect. So we learn from many places around the country, and then we get to learn from a district locally. And so I wanted to call that out. And the last thing I'll say is that Dr. Favor, I have known you for a long time. I've known you when you were in Minneapolis. I've known you when you were in Robbinsdale. I've known you when you taught at Metro State as a community faculty. I too will definitely miss you here in Roseville and know that you will do great things as an equity champion for our students. And just know that we'll stay in touch and can't wait to see all the great things that you'll do. So thank you for everything that you've done for our district.
Thanks, Rose. And I'll start off with echoing what everybody just said about you, Mike. Dr. Favor has been such an inspiration and a role model and really a guiding star for so many people here who have looked up to him and his wisdom and the compassion and the care, Mike, that you brought to the role, and that was just, part and parcel of everything you did and everything that you started and tried to do and accomplish. So again, thank you very much, and we wish you nothing but success as you move on to 917. So thank you, sir. It's been just a joy to know you and to meet you and to get to work with you. The only report item I have is just Informational Equity Alliance Minnesota will also be holding a retreat, a staff retreat, to which I and the other 5 district rep board members are invited in July to talk about the future. It's been a few years since the last business plan and strategic plan was put together. In fact, it ends this year. So it's time. Executive Director Sebastian Witherspoon is hosting that at the Minnesota Humanities Center this year. So we'll have a nice space to discuss and talk about the future of the organization. That's the only item I had. Aldo, superintendent's report tonight. Anything from you, or I guess you always
I do
have
have some
something?
things.
Yeah, there you go. Thank
I
you.
want to again thank our community for passing the bond referendum on November 7th, 2017. We are meeting timelines and remain within budget on construction projects. This is providing Roseville area schools with modern facilities and updated infrastructure, so it's really a great thing. As we're updating our facilities, we do need to look towards the resources to provide a superb education that will bring us back to better as this pandemic subsides. And as was mentioned in the meeting, some people don't know about the difference between bond referendum and operating referendum. So bonds are for building. So the 2017 bond referendum is for our facilities, but levies are for learning. So the upcoming November referendum is to provide the staffing and resources necessary to educate our students effectively. Our current operating levy will expire if voters don't renew it in November 2021. Our students do indeed need more stable funding for their schools, and we've been good stewards by enacting substantial budget reductions in recent years. The school district has a real need for increased operating revenue, which is why our school board has voted tonight to ask for an increase in our voter-approved operating levy. I continue to appreciate our supportive community that truly values education. We celebrate the fact that Juneteenth has recently become a national holiday. Although this is long overdue and comes well after the vast majority of states have recognized this commemoration of the independence of enslaved persons, it is a step in the direction of recognizing the horrible aspects of our great nation and is one move towards the healing that needs to occur. And finally, this is my last school board meeting before I retire at the end of the month. I want to thank our remarkable students, dedicated employees, and supportive community. I also want to thank our outstanding school board for giving me the opportunity to end my career serving in Roseville area schools. Working cooperatively with other selfless individuals has made it easier to effectively address adversity in the last 6 years, including our ongoing financial challenges. We have gone through some incredible challenges in recent years, and together we have risen to meet them head on. I have also seen tremendous progress. The commitment I see every day to pursuing equity for all students, to becoming an anti-racist district, to bringing awareness to absent narratives, and to supporting our students and families is nothing short of remarkable. I'm excited to see the district grow further in the years to come. So with that, the proverbial passing of the baton to Dr. Lake, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scully. As a follow-on to that announcement, yes, for those who hadn't been aware, this is indeed your last meeting. And we would be severely remiss if we didn't at least say a few things to you and about you before we leave tonight. We did ask for contributions to a compilation video that Director Johnson has been kind enough to put together and assemble. So at some point this evening, we'll be passing that along to you that has maybe some deeper and longer thoughts from us and others in the community and those who you've worked with over the years. So we'll leave you with that. We won't show it because it's a little long for the open meeting. But I think just before we end tonight, we just each wanted a chance to say a couple things. Maybe I'll start us off. It's literally hard to think of all the words, all the phrases, all the trite little comments that could be applied to you and your tenure here as head of our district. Transformational, leader, decisive, compassionate, wise, all of that. I mean, there's not a management book or a leadership book that's been written that in some way, shape, or form you haven't embodied. And I've read a lot of them over my career and over my life. And so it has just been a pleasure to work with you. I think that maybe the one comment I'll say, and then I'll pass it off to my colleagues, is, as a board member, as we have attended, and we've reflected, we've mentioned this as a board, I think, as we've attended different board functions across the cities or across the state, and we see and observe other superintendents and other boards and how they interact together. You thanked us, but I think that it's a symbiotic relationship, and we are successful because you have helped us be successful, and you've set that vision, you've stayed true to the vision, and you've been, for me even personally, a bit of a role model on how to do some things and how to lead and how to provide guidance, and it's not easy to do. As you know, every time you make a decision, half the people love it and half the people hate it, and there's probably not a day that's gone by since you've been with this district, including Saturdays and Sundays, when you haven't had to decide something that's affected people's lives, and you knew it, and you did it, and you went ahead with it, and you took the consequences because you knew it was in the best interests of the students and the best interests of our families and our staff and our overall community. So thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure to work with you and sit with you in these meetings, and all the best to you as you go into retirement. With that, I'll throw it up. Whoever wants to go next. Anybody, just start.
I'll go next, I guess.
All right, Katie.
I too am just incredibly grateful for your leadership. You're a student-centric, dedicated leader, really providing a role model, how you lead with an equity lens. I mean, how do you really make the change happen? Not just the belief in it, but how do you implement it on a day-to-day basis? How do you integrate it into a school district? You really enabled us to get so much farther with your leadership and your insight, and I will always appreciate it. I'm so grateful that you graduated from Roseville Schools and wanted to come back and provide leadership here to really help us move forward. I just feel like as a district, you really help us move on in a phenomenal way, and I will always be appreciative of that. Thank you. And of course, I wish you all the best in the retirement. Hope you get lots of chance to spend time with family, with outdoors, with everything else that, as your focus on the school and the district hasn't allowed you to have time to do. Thank you.
Frank, go ahead.
Aldo, I just want to say that I have appreciated from the very beginning your fierce support of education with integrity. And I think that has settled into the entire district. I think we all feel that need to really do things right and not let any single child lose an opportunity. And I just appreciate that, and I carry that with me from day to day. So thank you.
Todd?
Aldo, it's been a privilege working with you all these years on behalf of our students, our staff, all of our learners, towards equitable education. It's definitely been a highlight of my career, and you'll definitely be missed. I definitely hope you enjoy your retirement. I know you will. And I do hope I get to see you on a bike path one of these days. Thank you.
Thanks. Rose or Curtis? Go ahead, Curtis.
Okay, I'm getting an unstable internet warning, so let me know if this is a problem. Aldo, so many things I want to tell you, but I'll try to keep it to two things. Look at the people that are on this call. Your leadership is the thing that one of the things I'm going to remember about you the most. You surround yourself with really good people, and then you actually let them do their thing. During the pandemic, you sought input from anybody and everybody, and sometimes there were people that had completely different ideas of what we should do. And you sat there, you listened to it, you synthesized it, and you made a decision. And sometimes you change the decision when you've got new facts. Okay, and that's just great leadership. And you're just so impressive. And I am so glad that I have been able.
Oops.
Time limits up. We lost Curtis.
Yeah, there you go. Hopefully he'll make it back on.
He'll come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
He warned us about that, right? He warned
Yeah.
us.
Yep. So I think Rose gonna.
Sure. Yeah. So I think some of you probably know. I mean, although I've known you for many years, and one of the reasons that I even consider, like the idea of kind of being elected to be a school board member is partly because then I was able to say, at least I want to be in a district that I want to be a school board member. So you are the reason why I kind of fell in love with Roseville Area School District. So I want to thank you for that and for the opportunity all these years to have crossed paths with you. All the best to you for your next chapter. So really appreciate your humble leadership. I think about how in all the places that we are in meetings together, you are always so acknowledging. I think Mike said that too, like acknowledging the role that we play. And I'm thinking, no, it is you. You are the one that is on the ground every day doing some of the work. And all we can do is really do our part to support the work that you do on a daily level. So thank you for your dedication and commitment for the last 6 years. I never thought that when I joined the school board that I would be only in person with you for like 2 months. So it was great this last month or so that we have had some interaction that is in person. So hopefully we'll have a chance to do that more and stay in touch. Thank you.
Rose. And then due to non-electronic magic, we are now able to allow Curtis to finish his thoughts. Curtis.
Hello.
There you go.
See, there was a reason why I came in today. All right. Although I have no idea what happened, but let me just finish by saying that thank you for your leadership, and thank you for and the thing that's actually been even more important to me personally than your leadership, which has been phenomenal. Okay, is that you've consistently spoken out when you didn't have to. When other superintendents have not spoken out, you have. And you didn't do it because I told you to. You did it because it was the right thing to do. And I will always remember that. So enjoy your retirement. Know that you'll be missed. And I don't do so much with goodbyes, so we'll just say until next time.
Well, thank you all for your kind words, and thank you for the opportunity to serve and for all your support over the years. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Sicoli. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you all.